I'm Emma Hammett from First Aid for Life, and I am going to tell you today about how a spoonful of honey could save your child's life if they accidentally swallowed a button battery. Now, button batteries are these sort of things. You find them in remote controls, in all sorts of things, gadgets, children's toys, singing cards. And these batteries, sometimes, if a child swallows them, they go straight through and come out the other end and cause no problems. However, there are at least 2 fatalities every year in the UK, and we don't know exactly how many children are presenting in A&E with burns caused by these. What happens quite often is they get stuck. And if they get stuck, then they release caustic soda. Now, caustic soda is drain cleaner. So it is a really, really strong alkaline, and it will burn through the child's gut. And it can do this really quickly. You can see damage in just 30 minutes and considerable damage within a couple of hours. And it may not be obvious that the battery has been swallowed. Same thing as well, if they were to pop the battery up their nose or in their ears, it can cause serious damage. Now, some particularly reputable battery companies have become very well aware of this. The batteries are usually packed in child safety containers to stop the kids getting into them or prevent them or delay them getting in, because actually a persistent child can usually get into any child-resistant packaging. Duracell have gone one step further, and they have coated their batteries in something called Bitrex, which is incredibly bitter and will mean that the child will spit it out straight away, or should spit it out straight away. It is revolting. I have tried it. And that will mean that they are far less likely to swallow these. However, they do get hold of them. They get hold of them because they fall out of a device or the packet when it's opened, because there are flat batteries or spare batteries around. Now, flat batteries can still cause that reaction that releases the caustic soda. So please be careful with your flat batteries too. These things are dangerous. Children die. There are fatalities every year. In Australia, there's about 4 children a week that are attending A&E because of swallowing button batteries. In America, there's a huge number, and we're currently doing studies to find out the extent of the life-threatening changes that happen from children ingesting these batteries. And the problem is getting bigger. There's more children affected because there's more batteries in more gadgets around the house. So really important, if your child, or you suspect your child, has swallowed a button battery, a recent study in Philadelphia has shown that giving honey, so giving 2 teaspoonfuls of honey every 10 minutes can actually coat the battery inside the gut and neutralise some of the caustic soda. Now, I've done a study myself looking at the damage caused by a battery. I've got one with honey being applied to it and one without, and you can actually see the difference. So I will attach that to my blog post so you can visibly see that this does actually work. You would only give honey if the child is over a year, and also never give honey if you know that the child is allergic to honey. So 2 teaspoonfuls every 10 minutes, but don't let it delay you getting them to A&E. They need to get to hospital quickly because that burning is happening right now. Now, don't give them anything else to eat or drink. Definitely don't make them sick, because it will have the caustic soda, and if you then make them sick, that will then come up and cause further damage in addition to the damage it's caused when they've swallowed the battery. And if you're able to identify what the battery is that's missing, all the better, but please don't delay getting them to A&E as a result. So A&E is your important bit. Grab your honey if you can, and don't make them sick. Right, so how do you know if they've eaten a button battery? Well, this is the problem. It may not be that easy. So obviously, if you can see that there is a gadget missing a critical battery, or if the little screws have been tampered with and the battery is nowhere to be found, then you should take your child for an X-ray, take them to A&E straight away. However, signs and symptoms that they may have swallowed a battery. The only one that is absolutely sort of fundamental, get them to A&E now, is if they start vomiting fresh blood. That is very serious and you need to get them there fast, and it probably means there is a battery missing and it's inside them. They may cough, gag, drool. They may be sick themselves. If they are sick, obviously you get them to A&E if you suspect it's caused by a button battery, but as I said before, don't make them sick. They may have pain in their tummy, in their chest, in their throat. They might be tired or lethargic. They might have loud, noisy breathing. They may have a fever. They may lose their appetite and not want to eat solid food. But all these things are really difficult to diagnose. So the most important thing, and the most important thing that you can do, is A, spread this information so that people do know that honey works and the dangers of button batteries. And secondly, take a few minutes out and check around your house. Check where those pesky batteries are lurking. Double check in the children's toys. Are they double secured with the little screws? And are they safely in there? Anything that contains a button battery that hasn't got a secured compartment should be out of reach of children. So remote controls, car key fobs, thermometers, singing cards, they're in everything. Children's wands that they like to play and spin, anything that has little flashing lights, those fancy little candles that you have that aren't real candles, all those things contain these potentially lethal batteries. Make sure they are properly out of reach. If you are changing a battery, make sure that you don't just leave the old one on the side. Put it for proper recycling. The supermarkets all have proper recycling bins for batteries. Do not let your children or anybody else's children get hold of these batteries. And please, please spread the word, because, you know, a couple of children dying from these every year is 2 children too many. And in addition to that, we know that there are a huge number of children that require really radical surgery from these as a result of these, and life-changing injuries. So please don't let this happen to anyone else. Let other people know, and just spread the word. And between us, we can really make a difference to avoiding injuries from these. And think very carefully when you're buying things containing batteries. Thank you for listening, and please let other people know.